district trustee. First, I think we probably need a motion to accept the resignation of Craig Anderson, our representative at large. Do I hear such a motion?
Make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the resignation as of October 23rd. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Then that brings us to the issue of, well, let's go ahead and...
Mr. Chairman, maybe I'd note with the list of names we have in front of us, that's the order in which we received those names in this office, or an indication from a board member that someone is interested in it. They're in no particular order other than chronological in receipt into the office.
If it's the will of the board, before we go on with that, we need to accept the resignation of David Anderson also, which will not become effective until the first Monday in January 2013. When talking with the Register of Voters, Larry Lomax, he indicates that both of these men were legitimately on the board with no problem at all, and the only way to determine whether or not they were covered by the term limits would be he would have to petition the Secretary of State for a ruling on that matter. And at this point, that's a moot point since both have resigned. So I would also ask that we have a motion to accept the resignation of David Anderson as of January, the first Monday in January of 2013.
Make that motion.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Then I would instruct or would encourage board members from this moment on, we will deal with this probably in our January board meeting. Between now and then, you need to talk to your constituents and find some individuals who would be interested in serving in that position until the next general election. When, and I'll remind you that that one is only for individuals who live within the city limits of Mesquite. It is the Mesquite position. The one we're going to vote on today, if that's the will of the board, is an at-large. So I would encourage those, while that nomination must come out of Mesquite, and I would think maybe our Mesquite board member would probably be the funnel for that. That does not preclude any other board member from making a nomination as long as that individual lives within the boundary of Mesquite. And I believe that's in compliance with NRS 381. Is that not true?
318. Yeah.
318. I'm sorry. I'm dyslexic. I've been all my life. 318.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I will open that up for discussion with the board. We have had 20 days to pick up names and have names submitted to us and to review those individuals. Is it the will of the board to go ahead and make that presentation today, or make that selection today? If not, we will have to return here on Tuesday, no later than Tuesday, that's the last day, and make a selection. So if it's the will of the board, I don't know if we need to make a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion we do it tonight.
I have a motion that we go ahead with this tonight. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, we'll go ahead with the selection today.
Mr. Chairman, also in taking a look at, this is my first time in replacing the board member. In looking at it, I've also looked at different ways different boards have done it too. Looking, for example, the school board and how they did their selection process. How do I give suggestions in changing this a little bit? Not we're against the timeline against this one, but for the one coming up in January.
Well, I think that's the will of the board. The board has the ability to select, and that's what the law says. We have the ability to select. It does not set a pattern of how we have to go about that selection process.
That's correct.
And I think the board has the right to establish that selection process. In the past, and I'm one of those, in the past, the selection was always, the board members were notified that there was an opening, and then they went amongst their people and said, hey, we got an opening, would you be interested in filling that? And then they brought it back to the board, and the board voted on it. This is basically what we've done here. Now, this board can probably develop whatever process they wish to go by, and I certainly have no problem with doing what the will of the board is. And if, before we leave here tonight, we may want, I think we could probably establish that, I don't know.
I don't know that you could establish a policy. You could certainly give direction to staff in how to handle
It's not here as an action item, so I know we can't vote on it.
Correct. But to create a policy, we'll have to.
But I
certainly give direction.
But I think we could probably develop a process whereby we can do something other than what we've done, but this is what we've always done in the past, and I do not believe, unless we, well, since we have selected to go ahead and do it, I think we have to go with it tonight. Now, any other comment on where we're at with this?
How many can we suggest?
I think what we do is we take a look at it, we open this up, let you guys give us the individuals you would like to deal with, then take and a majority vote. The first person I suppose we pick with a majority vote will be the individual we select. I am under the impression that each of these individuals have been communicated with and are willing to fill the position if they are selected. Okay? And so at this point, I guess the process on that would be to ask for nominations, and with the nomination, when you nominate, you might explain to us why you nominate that individual and why indeed you would want to do so. And I would think it would be someone from this list, though I don't think we're restricted to that.
No, you're not.
Okay. So I would open the floor for, or the, not the floor, I would open the board for nominations.
I'll make the nomination for Steve Miller. He's over in Bunkerville. He's been in the generation business for over 30 years, so he knows about electricity, so.
I'll nominate Dave Bennett. He and I just talked a little bit. I've also talked to Jay, but Dave came to me first.
Where's Dave from?
He's from Mesquite.
Okay.
He, actually, there's a piece of paper in front of you. He had sent a little resume over explaining.
Is Dave interested in both positions as well? Did he
When
say?
I talked to him about that, he says he would be interested, but he's generally interested in.
Yeah,
Mesquite
large.
at those.
Okay. Does everyone have a copy of this?
No.
Dave Bennett, occupational experience, Fidelity National Title Sales Business, Equity Title, American Federal Credit Union. Professional or technical organizations, he's a member of the Credit Union, the Nevada League of Cities. He's been a city councilman at the city of Mesquite. He's been a city appointment to Virgin Valley Water District, Mesquite Area Chamber of Commerce, Clark County Debt Management, Clark County Regional Flood Control, Clark County Regional Transportation. 12 years experience with City of Mesquite Sanitation Utility Company, 7 years with the Virgin Valley Water Department Utility Board of Directors. He has a Bachelor's of Arts, 30 credits, Master's of Public Administration. Okay. Does anyone else have anything further on?
I'd like to nominate Jay Dober. I've known him for years and an honorable person. I feel like he'd be a good board member.
Would you, any other background you want to give on Jay?
I've just known him since he worked for DOT and found him to be a good man. And I think he'd be
I can speak a little bit. I was supervisor for NDOT here out of Glendale. I helped build a new station up here off the interchange. Anyway, I'm a government worker and retired from over 30 years, and don't know a lot about power, but I did take some electronics in college once, so I knew a little bit about resistances and stuff like that, but I do know a little bit about working with money and budgets and stuff like that. But anyway.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay. Okay, we have Steve Miller, Jay Tobler, and Dave Bennett. We have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. The first one to receive 3 votes, I suppose, is going to be elected. If we don't get anyone with 3.
Can we vote more than once?
Well, you know what, I think the first time through.
You want to work with the city mesquite?
I think the first time through, let's vote once. If we don't come with anybody, we'll take the top 2 and then we'll vote that down. Does that sound fair and reasonable, or? Yeah?
You want to take it by show of hands? You want a paper ballot?
It's show of hands. I have no problem with that. All of those, I'm just going to go down the list to say are there. All those in, first, do you have a comment or your?
Should we make it, do a proposal, say, besides nomination, to make a motion to accept each one?
No, I think what we'll do, we got a nomination, we got a second, they've been nominated, I think we take a vote. If we don't come up with a majority of those, I think we then sit down and search our soul, and maybe go to a secret ballot and see how we do. Is there any objection to that process, or? Okay. And I want to just take them in the order that they're there. All in favor of Steve Miller? I got 1, 2. I got 2. Those in favor of Jay Tobler? I have 1. Those in favor of Dave Bennett? And I got 1 there. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I noticed you didn't vote.
I did not.
Abstaining?
No, I'm not abstaining. I was kind of waiting to see if I need to break a tie of any kind. I don't.
You can make it a tie.
So,
maybe we should do is vote for 2, and the one that ends up with the most, or the 2 that ends up with the highest, then you take them and drop off, and get back on 2 of them.
okay. Okay, here's the second round then. Okay, let's vote for 2, and see where we finish with the top 2 of those and vote them off. Okay. All in favor of Steve Miller?
4, 5.
Did I see all 5?
4 or 5.
I see 4.
Steve Miller.
I see 3. I see 3, 4.
5.
5.
This is Gary's reason it's all 5.
Well, that's a unanimous vote.
We'll get to vote on 2, don't we?
Okay.
So you need to keep
Okay. Jay Tobler? I see 2.
going. If you're raising your hand,
I am.
that's 3, Mr. Chairman.
3, thank you. I'm glad. Not only am I dyslexic, I'm mathematically challenged. And those in favor of Dave Bennett? I see 2. Okay, we have 4 for Steve Miller, 3 for 5 for Steve Miller, 3 for Jay Tobler. So we'll have a vote off on those 2. I suppose if we end up with a unanimous one on this, it's done. All those in favor of Steve Miller? I see 3. Is that right? Okay, I see 3. That leaves Jay Tobler. I see 2. That would indicate to me that Steve Miller has been elected or selected to serve that position. Okay. And that would conclude that.
Will you notify, would you like to staff?
I would like staff.
Why isn't he here if he's interested in being on the job?
Did we make a motion for that?
Do the election, I would have thought would have been the motion, but I would be more than glad to entertain a motion that Steve Miller be selected to fill that position.
Okay.
Got the motion? All in favor? Got that second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now, we are cleared on that. Have we got a clarification on the next position we have to fill? We have to fill that, and we do not need to fill that until the January meeting.
That's correct.
And do we at this time want to discuss anything about how we're going to do that, or do we want to?
Direct staff as to how you'd like to have that, receive nominations for that, or?
Are you looking for discussion?
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. That's all it is discussion.
Exactly, just discussion. In the only other boards that I'm intimately familiar with is the school board. They're under a different NRS, and so a lot of it's not applicable to our board. But what they have done historically is when there's an open board meeting, they let people know they get applications. Those applications have to verify that they're a registered voter, that they live within the district that they're going to be representing, and that they've been in that district for the required amount of time to be an eligible person. What the school district does at that point is they close it 6 days before the board meeting. The board chairman had asked for questions to be asked for the person. They fill out an application process, they have to sign it. At that point, they are brought into the boardroom, and they're reviewing the presented questions, and they answer the questions. And they have lots of people. They limit it to 5 minutes. This last time was 15 minutes, and then it's the same thing that we just did today with nominations. Each board member, if they choose to have a nomination for the person, and then they vote for the person. My thought with that is we can get some more information on the candidate's background and other information, and be able to ask them questions.
Would you like to add that up, committee?
I don't mind doing it, but that way it affords us the opportunity to have face-to-face time and ask them questions and have them respond to us.
I have no problem doing it any way you want to do it. I mean, that's how the board wants to do it. It is, if that is the will of the board, then we would be more than willing to take that effort. At that point, we'll have one more board member sitting with us.
I can certainly meet with Mike and develop a preliminary there, and we can provide that to papers.
Yeah, now,
Preliminary guidelines.
and I would remind everybody that position is filled till the next general election, at which time anybody who wants to can fill the position. Interestingly enough.
Which there are no qualifications for other than to be a resident.
Rather than be a resident, and
So,
interestingly enough, these two guys ran completely unopposed. And they were not challenged in the 5-day period when you could challenge. Larry Lomax indicated that there was no challenge in there, therefore he took no action.
other than the board notification that we had a concern there. And
Well, yeah, and that's what he did say. The reason why he was going to inquire with the Secretary of State is because our board itself asked a question.
Prior to the election.
Yeah, prior to the election even. But
he also made that clear that the board was not in a position to register a objection.
That's correct. This board is not an enforcement agency.
Nor did this board have the power to reject anybody who was newly elected by the people of the district, which both of these men were, and they were not challenged. I mean, no one even ran against them.
Take a court action in order to remove them from the board.
So, anyway, at the next general election, anybody who wishes can file and run and be elected if they get themselves elected to it. So,
The one problem you run into, what you're talking about, you could have 100 names there, and then you've muddied the waters and would have a heck of a time trying to pick out.
Correct. The way that, because I had this discussion with person who's familiar with the board, and they said in years gone by, when they've had a significant number of people, that's when they reduce the number. But each board member only can nominate one person. And so even if you had 100 people, next time we would only have 6 people that would be nominated.
Consideration.
No, that's fine, that's good. No problem. Like I say, I got no problem with any process.
Then we would supply any applicant or any pro forma or a resume.
Correct.
I think,
And they would need to know that that's public record.
yeah,
That anything that.
their resume would become public
Correct. The
record.
resume and the application will become public record.
As long as we're in compliance with 318.
Which is extremely vague. It allows you to nominate and pick someone to replace them.
Well, one of the problems we ran into with Craig's was we received notification at 3:30 on the 23rd. That gave us the 24th to notify board that had happened, and then to take some action following that. So, and knowing you have a 30-day limit there. So the fact that we have some more time with this one is we can develop a little more thorough policy there, or process there.
Okay. So we're ready to move on to...
Well, let me get clear that the intent is that Mike and I would prepare some, along the school board guidelines, where we would seek resumes from the general public, in this case, the Mesquite area. We would provide those back to the board members, and at the January meeting, each of you would have the opportunity to nominate someone from that group or someone else that you'd like to see serve on the board, and we would go through the same.
I would think though,
Okay.
I would think though, if we went through that process, that we would preclude the board bringing somebody in who did not go through that process.
Okay.
I think, and my opinion would be that if you have the process, I don't think I should come in here and wildcat somebody at the last minute and drop on the board.
They should be able to at least provide a
Yes.
resume to
Yes.
the board.
Well, and from what I heard, you're wanting people to come in and be able to make a statement in case, I don't believe there'd be 100 people, but in case that was the case, I think it should be, are you gonna limit the?
We'll narrow it down to 6.
Maybe get out those resumes and let each of you nominate in advance, so that we can invite only 6 people here, or 5 people here, or are you going to are you thinking of just an open, free for all, anybody can come here and?
Well, and of course, I asked the question, the person who works for the board, and it was, how many people have you had? And they said, last time there were only 4.
Yeah.
And then,
And that may be the case.
but previously, when they've had a lot of people, it was, they limited the amount of time that they were able to ask questions. That back and forth time, they narrowed it. So if there was only 3 people, then you have a little bit more time to ask those questions. If there's 30 people, then of the 3 minutes.
Well, and currently we have, I don't know about Detective Richmond, if his intent is to apply for Dave's seat. But we have Barbara, Donna, Dave, and Leo and Kevin Hess. All of those have.
Are they all from Mesquite?
Yes, that's my understanding, all of them from Mesquite. So we have at least that many already interested in serving.
But if we allow
Was
each
that-
board...
What's these 2
Yeah,
behind you?
Mr. Baldwin and John, Jacob Sherwood also.
You live in Mesquite, don't
Yeah, I've lived there 40
Okay.
years.
That's long enough.
I don't know. Same residence too.
Oh, and Dave Bennett too. I didn't have Dave Bennett there.
Well, I would assume there's a possibility there would be others, but I was thinking we would narrow that down to one. I thought we'd said something, one board member would get one person that they could recommend off of.
Well, that's a list of
That would
names
take
we
6.
would provide to the various board members. Each of you could select a person.
That would be 6 out of the...
Yeah, out of the group.
So, yeah.
And we could let the public lobby you in the meantime.
again, with the understanding that if the next general election, everybody who wants to can
Vote
run
for,
for positions.
run, vote for,
And we would hope someone did this time instead of like last
Yeah.
time when no one else ran. Okay, does that resolve your issues here? Any further discussion on that? Okay.